You got to be kidding me, folks. That's right. Season 2, a plane just flew by. I don't want to say I'm scared, Rogers, but that one was a little bit low. Why don't you tell the audience, all 15 people here recently, our viewership is going down. So why don't you tell them what the topic is so we can get them interested today?
That was like a FedEx plane dropping a package off at your house out the window. I think the pilot threw it out and went, "Here, Frazier," that's what it was, and you can catch it. We are talking about soccer today in this week in class, and I guess our unit today, or our topic today, is going to be referees. We talked a little bit about refereeing. We talked about, how soccer refereeing, in my opinion, is a lot of judgment calls by human. So the topic today is going to be, referees, umpires in general, and how do we feel about electronic refereeing, umpiring, things like that? Baseball and things have been testing with some minor league teams, balls and strikes. Okay, you watch a baseball game and you see a strike being thrown, umpire makes a call, and you have that little box and you can see where the ball goes, whether the umpire got it right or wrong. Well, what are your thoughts on going completely computerized? Tennis has gone to it with the line judges. Tell me what you think.
Well, first off, before I get into the computer part of it, the two sports that I've been a head coach in, I want to say something that's really funny. In basketball, my players will even admit this. I rarely say anything to the ref. I rarely complain about a call. I've never had a technical foul as a coach. I just have no reason to do it. But coaching soccer, Captain Rogers, I'm the exact opposite. I've been yellow carded. I've never been ejected, but I've kicked trash cans. I've thrown other stuff. I just feel like you said it is too judgmental. If the referee doesn't like you, guess what? You might not get a call in soccer. It just depends on their judgment in the moment, their time in the moment. And I think when you said the stuff about computer-based, again, human error comes into play, but I look at my own perspective. In basketball, I can teach my kids how to catch the ball, jump, stop, and pivot, and make plays, and how to take a charge. You can teach those things. In soccer, you can't teach the ref to make a call. It has to be determined by the ref. So each game is different. You kind of have to feel the ref out to find out how they're going to call certain things. It's easier to teach a skill that the referee has to officiate instead of a referee's judgment, in my opinion.
Well, and that's what we talked about earlier. We talked about that referee, handball. Handball is a referee's judgment whether the person put their hand in front of the ball or his arm on purpose or was accidental. That's a judgment call, an immediate judgment call that the referee has to decide. A slide tackle, whether they were going after the ball or going after the person's legs, that is judgmental. Whether, there are so many, whether someone's offsides or not, it's an angles judgment. It's not even you cross this line. It's a judgment of where the referee was looking at the defender from what angle and where the player was in comparison to that angle. Everything in soccer is almost a judgmental call. No matter, even, when two guys go up for a head ball, I've seen, yellow cards given, red cards given. I've seen penalties done, tripping, things like that, all judgmental. I'd go to say that 90% of soccer calls are judgment calls by the referee.
Well, playing in high school compared to playing in a high-level club game, the better the officials, the harder it is to get away with stuff. But the better the player and the worse officiated game, the more it is to get away with it. I used to catch the ball with my arms and drop it. I probably handballed the entire game, much less, trying to get away with it. Ball come by you, just slap it and put it in your direction. Honestly, in some levels of play, it's a skill to be able to cheat the rules, to cheat the official. But like you said a minute ago, I went off topic with that just because if you've seen me coach a basketball game, which you've seen a bunch, I normally say nothing to the ref. In soccer, I'm the exact opposite, just because it's aggravating. It's one of those things where you're like a ball and strike in baseball. You're like, dude, what is that? It's knee high. It's down the middle. What do you want? I mean,
So that again, that brings us to our next bit of this topic. What are your thoughts on electronic officiating? I mean, isn't the reason an official's out there to get the call right?
I cannot stand watching the game on television and they say, let's go to the replay or let's check this. I think high school sports, more so than anything right now, mistakes make the game beautiful. Mistakes give you a chance. Mistakes also are teaching points for athletes. Not everything is going to go your way. I totally just cannot stand the computer-based thing. Now, in some instances, when you get into championship play, like basketball, like football, like baseball to some extent, I still don't like the computerized balls and strikes in baseball. That aggravates me more than any professional sport. But when it gets down to it and you're playing for millions and you're getting paid millions, yeah, it's important. But the
No, see, I disagree. I completely disagree with you 100%. No, I don't think championship games should use them if you haven't used them all year, number one. Number two, to me, you're talking about when you're making millions and playing for millions and doing these things, it's more important. I disagree with that because, again, there are some mistakes that are made in high school games, in college games, that may keep a kid from getting a college scholarship. It may keep a kid from getting picked up by a professional team. And I know more goes into it when these colleges look at kids and when these professionals look at kids, but there are some balls and strikes that are called in baseball that a kid may strike out 3 times in a game, but they're not really strikeouts. So a college scout may be there and go, you know what, I'm out. I don't need to, this kid struck out 3 times looking, I'm done. So, I think it's important across the board to get it right. Now, I agree with you. Slowing the game down by going and checking to see if a runner was safe or out. I do believe there's some beauty in, when a player makes an error in the field, he doesn't get the chance to redo it or fix it. An umpire does if he misses a call. If I were an umpire, I would be irate if I were behind the plate umpire and they had that little square and I called a ball or strike and they showed me, it was more for the TV. No, he missed that call. Oh, he missed this call. Oh, he got that call right. Great call. But that would make me angry because it's like they're checking up on me on every single call I make.
Well, one of the worst things to me, and this is what I was getting at what I said a minute ago, is at the end of every NBA game the next day, any person, yourself, me, or anybody can just go to the NBA.com and look at it. They have the final 2-minute report. They call it the final 2-minute report. Every call that's made in the final 2 minutes, regardless of what happened the night before, the NBA goes back and tells you, hey, you may have lost this game. Just like game 5, everybody was like, oh, wow, the Miami Heat beat the Lakers. They came back the next day, and they said when LeBron James made his pass to Danny Green and Danny Green missed a shot, it was a big deal. Rogers, it was illegal defense. The Lakers were trailing by 1 point. The NBA admitted that they missed a call and the Lakers should have shot a free throw that could have tied the game and would have changed the whole thing. I totally disagree with telling the world that you missed that call. I totally disagree with the next day because there are people like me that read the 2-minute report. Like if I watch an NFL game, I usually watch the final 2 minutes. I'll look at the 2-minute report the next day. If I watch the whole thing and I'm like, wow, I think this. But they release it the next day in most sports. And I think it is so wrong because the official was a part of the game, which I totally believe that. And I also believe, you may be right or wrong with this one, I believe the first 2 minutes are just as important as the last 2 minutes because the Lakers did miss a free throw the other night to start the game, and LeBron James missed 2 free throws in the second quarter, whatever it was. Those 2 free throws count just as much as the 2 free throws at the end of the game.
No, I can do one even. I mean, again, I will go as far as saying there's not a point in the game that doesn't not matter.
Correct.
Okay. I mean, let's be 100%. Last night in the Chargers
Saints
game, okay, the Chargers kicker missed an extra point. He makes that extra, so they go up 6-0 instead of 7-0. At the end of the game, that one extra point would have gotten them the win. He missed it in, the 6th minute of the game or 8th minute of the game, but he missed the extra point, which kickers don't do. So that 6 minutes or that minute right there where he missed that was the most important part of the game, because they would have won the game if he made that point. But, that in itself is hard to say too, because again, everything changes when something happens in a game, whether it's good or bad. The rest of the game is played differently. Again, it goes back to things that we taught when we taught health class. Every decision you make affects a million different things after that. If we sit here on this, Zoom show for 40 minutes, there are 5 things that are going to change. Okay. Final thoughts. We got to go. We got class. Electronic replays and refereeing or not in the future, yes or no?
It's going to be there, but I don't like it. No.
And on this episode of You Gotta Be Kidding Me, I have to agree with Coach Frazier. I want to see the referees get it correct, but I do believe that referees' mistakes are part of the game as well.
All right, folks, you heard it here. We like human error better than we do computer flaws. Till next time, you got to be kidding me.